As many have noticed, our lovely Patreons, well, I appreciate their support. They love to fucking split the polls that we give them to be like, hey, we want to make sure we're doing content you guys actually want.
And then it's just a tie.
And then there's like ties or three-way ties. So I bought a fucking game show wheel. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna spin it. There will be a social media post about this because I spun the wheel. I built the wheel, I spun the wheel. Apparently I spun the wheel too hard and I broke the wheel on its first spin.
Cool. I hope you got that on video.
I did get that on video.
Okay,
it will be on our TikTok and probably our Instagram after I get that video edited. But yeah, so I'm just like, God, I have no luck with fucking making game show wheels because I fucked up the game show wheel for the corn tub, which you can't see on our YouTube if you want to watch that insane mess. We have the remnants of that wheel in our recording studio, and it haunts me.
I had to pull it out of my room.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But, yeah, I may strip the baby wheel for parts, but I think the baby wheel still works, so I might keep using the baby wheel. I don't know.
The baby fucking wheel, man.
The baby fucking wheel. And then I got our big boy wheel. We got our big Chad wheel, and then the baby fucking wheel.
Unfortunately, the corn tub wheel is in the recording room in parts right now. She did not survive well the storage period.
No, I have other mechanisms to make it spin.
It was just a fidget spinner taped to a board, basically, right?
Well,
glued.
I tried using an epoxy adhesive that wouldn't melt the styrofoam, but it took longer to cure than I thought, so it didn't fully set, so that's why there's a calamity on the stream. But it's fine. The wheel lives. It will rise again, unlike the South. I apologize, everyone. We've had a spicy start to this episode because we decided, why not start the day with a shot of Malort?
And it turned into like 2.
And then
3.
we made Malort cocktails because we're like, this isn't that bad. I don't know why everybody's bitching. And then we each made Malort cocktails.
Well, there's a reason I added a Malort emoji to the server.
Yeah.
So if you need a Discord Malort emoji, we got you.
Yeah. Low key, though, if you could ping us to Malort and we can get a sponsorship from them, that would be sick. Because unironically, I do like Malort.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm a proud Midwesterner, goddammit, and I will buy a Chicago handshake.
I tried it the first time last night, and I overall, I liked it.
And you're the cocktail guy.
I'm the cocktail guy.
You're our little mixologist, and we're so proud of you.
Malort, either like it or you don't. Either way, fuck you.
I guess we should get to it, though. Hi, and welcome to Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade V5 tabletop and horror podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and I'm joined by...
Hi, this is Sarah, and we have a special guest today. Hi, special guest.
Hi, I am Danny.
Danny is our roommate and bartender.
Yes, I've also run Vampire the Masquerade for Danny, and I have talked about those exploits a little bit on the show. So if you've listened to previous episodes, he's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
The boy's here.
Unfortunately, John is dealing with some personal issues, and he couldn't join us. So Danny, who kindly made us cocktails, decided to join us.
At the crack of 11 a.m.
Yeah. I got up early to walk the dog. That's fine.
Yeah, Dan, do you mind telling everybody what you have in front of you? Because you switched up the game a little bit from the Malort.
Well, I didn't want to keep using the Malort, so I used what was some of the Seagram 7 that Hunter had gotten from his grandfather that was probably, like 10 plus years old at this point.
Oh, yeah, it's like a decade. It's the old, nice bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Not that Seagram's 7 has changed in quality. The bottle was just itself was just nicer
because of the aging.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's aged in plastic, just how you want your liqueur.
Actually, that was a glass bottle.
Oh, still from that. I got some glass and I got some plastic bottles from him because he had a lot of Seagram 7 for some reason, so I wasn't sure.
But it was, I think, last weekend, or hell, it might have been earlier in the week. I don't remember.
It was last weekend. It was before I left on my trip.
That's right. I added some. I decided that after a couple of cocktails of something different, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take that bottle. I'm gonna pour it into a different clear bottle, and I'm gonna add some crushed up root beer flavored candy and some edible glitter.
Yeah, so this bitch over here drinking a fucking glitter cocktail. It's magical.
It's magic.
Which is beneficial because this is our first part of our NPC in World of Darkness Deep Dive series.
Let's go to Candy Mountain.
Oh my god. So We put a poll up for our first selection of the NPC Deep Dives. You fuckers tied the poll in the Patreon, so thank you. I had to purchase and then break a wheel, which is extra funny because we ended up talking about Carna today.
Yay, Carna won.
Carna won. The wheel has spoken. There will be, following this episode on the Patreon, another poll to pick the next NPC we will be deep diving. If you fuckers split the poll again, I will just spin the wheel.
We'll have to break a third wheel.
After it's remade.
Yes, I will build it stronger, faster, better, maybe even a little gayer. Who knows? But the wheel will be spun again.
We could jack a car up and just hit the gas once to spin a wheel.
Oh, no!
That might take some work, but...
I was thinking about installing like a Beyblade like rip cord.
Ooh, we could make a Beyblade wheel. That would be cool.
That would be cool. The possibilities are endless. But if you pay us some dollary dues, we appreciate your support, and you get to choose the direction the show goes. So that poll will be up with the new contender in the list as well as the previous ones. The previous ones are just going to stay on the list until you guys vote. Yeah. So, with this new series, we're going to be covering a little bit of the lore and the history of this particular NPC and our thoughts on how they fit within the lore, as well as how they can be used in the game as plot devices. Yeah, I'm still just like, God damn it, I broke the wheel. Son of a bitch.
It's fine. A Beyblade's only $20 on eBay right now. You can get a lot of 3 for like 30.
All right, you guys split the poll. I'm going to label each of the Beyblade tops as the different NPC, and they're going to fight in a Beyblade pit.
Ooh. So we'd have to pay a little extra to get a Beyblade arena, but I think it's doable.
All right, cool.
We're 3D print one.
That takes so fucking long.
It'd be easier to print the components for the Beyblade to build it than it would be to print the pit.
I'm sure we could probably find one at a Goodwill somewhere.
I would just get a really big bowl.
You did get those nice steel mixing bowls we could use.
Those were a Christmas present. I don't want to fuck those up.
It's just Beyblade. It'll be fine.
You gotta let it rip sometimes.
It does remind me of one of my all-time favorite eBay listings, which is the kids who played with their Beyblades in the tub, and it ripped the coating off of it. And like one of the eBay pictures is the child in front of the tub, like sobbing.
Oh, buddy.
They're like, we're selling all of their Beyblades to pay to replace the tub. It's like, you're not getting that kind of money off Beyblades. I'm sorry.
This is just a humiliation ritual. Speaking of content warning, we will be discussing some situations of domestic abuse and violence and the trauma responses related to that. So if it's something that's not comfy for you, please feel free to skip the episode or come back later. So, woohoo. Sources for this will be the V5 core book, the Anarchs book, Blood Sigils, Let the Streets Run Red, Beckett's Jihad Diary, Bloody Heart, Diablerie Britain, and Umbra, the Velvet Shadow. I'm never going to escape that 3 wolf moon of a fucking book. Swear to God.
Good book, though.
That's a good book. So we're going to start off with a birth, because that's how humans start, usually, is a birth. Carna was born in either 1417 or 1419, which, depending on the timeline, makes some things that happened to her later in her life extra icky. I'll talk about that in a bit. Also, there doesn't seem to be any real record in the canon of where she's actually originally from. This seems to be somewhere vaguely in Europe. It is noted in the text that her clothes tend to be anachronistic whenever she's around, but it doesn't denote any specific time period or country of origin.
Okay.
So she's vaguely European and blonde. That could be lots of places. Hooray.
Just 1 or 2.
Just vaguely European. Education. She actually lacks any formal education during her mortal life because she comes from a peasant background and her family was noted as being highly abusive. Hooray. World of Darkness. Everybody's well adjusted here. So, in her adulthood, as she recounts, she was 18 when she met a quote-unquote prince and formed a relationship with him. This is where the age thing gets a little weird, because if you look at the timeline in the book, it's like, she was of age. And then if you look at it from timeline giving in another book, you're like, she might have been a teenager.
Life was a little different. People are getting married at 16 more often. Back in the 1400s.
No.
No, really?
No. The accounts we have of people doing underage marriages was more like political marriages amongst the aristocracy in Europe.
Really? So it wasn't normal people weren't doing it. It was just rich people?
Yeah, the records that we do have, regular ass people were getting married between the ages of like 18 to 24. So like the normal times people get married.
Oh, so nothing's really changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So only the rich people are doing it.
Yeah. There's just humans are shockingly the same all the time. It's weird.
So it was more like marriages of, like arranged marriages by rich people. Be like, well, your family needs to marry this family so that we can maintain our power.
Yeah, but they wouldn't like force the consummation until they were both like old enough.
Just like, this is your wife, but you're going to school for another 4 years kind of thing.
Yup. Exactly.
I guess that's fine.
It's not great, but it's
better than, yeah.
It's better than what we write about in fiction where we're just like, ah, yes. But there were also a lot of cases of like creepy old guys being like, ah, yes, give me the child. She hasn't bled yet.
I
don't like that.
The child.
Don't do that to Werner Herzog. No.
I'm sorry.
Rude.
He's a good person.
Yeah. Not a good person was this fuck ass dude she ended up in a relationship with.
I don't like the way that Prince is in quotation marks. That's...
Yeah! Well, when you're a peasant girl and then, rich hot guy shows up and he goes like, oh my god, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I'm going to take you away from this life of drudgery and you get to live in my castle. A lot of girls are going to take that offer. Like, even if they're not swept up in the romance thing, they're just like, shit, I don't have to till the fields anymore. All right, but... So, yeah, he ends up taking her and traveling far away from her home to his castle, where she finds out that he's actually a Tremere prince, which in the 1400s is wild, because it's like, you guys just got here and you already have a prince.
I mean, that's on trend for the Tremere. I feel like they were immediately just like, we are exactly like all of you.
Demand respect immediately. Yeah, but she also finds out that his castle is full of lots of other girls just like her. And they're all blood dolls.
Yay.
Oh, no.
She's like, oh shit, I'm just part of this herd. Yeah, you are toots. And that relationship immediately it's the tradition with a lot of abusive relationships where the abuser goes from like sweet and charming and cool to just the most fuck-assed person. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, but needless to say, the books are like, yeah, he definitely hit her and various other terrible things. So
he treated a ghoul the way you'd expect someone to treat their ghoul / blood
He treated a blood doll. Yep. Yeah, she didn't get ghouled.
Not even fully ghouled, just straight blood doll?
Yep, straight blood doll.
All right.
And apparently that relationship went on as it did for a few years. In the Milwaukee by Night book, basically the timeline for her is she got tricked into the castle when she was 18 and gets embraced when she's 21.
Okay.
Which is the less icky of the timelines that could happen, so that's what I'm going with.
That sounds reasonable.
Because, getting tricked when you're 16, 17, and then getting embraced when you're 19, I'm like, no, I'm so good. No. The word teen is still involved.
Yeah, well, at least wait till I'm, wait. If you're going to embrace me, wait until I'm 21, so at least I can legally buy liquor for eternity.
Look, here's my...
Honestly, let's wait till I'm old enough to rent a car.
That's usually... Me as a storyteller, that tends to be my cutoff for wanting to do fucked up things to people. I was like, until you're old enough to rent a car by yourself in the U.S., I'm like, nope, I'm not running that story. That's, you need frontal lobes, my guy. But on the night of the event, this Tremere prince who was named Bordana, I haven't found any other records of him outside of Carna's backstory, and I even dug into the France by Night book. Unfortunately, the copy of the France by Night book I have is en français.
Oh, no.
But I can read French, so it was fine. But it was just me going, oh, I have this book. I don't have an English translation anymore. Shit.
Maintenant. Oui.
Yeah. Yeah, but I scoured through that. Couldn't find information on like what city he ran. For some reason, the White Wolf Wiki states that he was the Prince of Marseille, but I checked the citation they gave on the White Wolf Wiki, and I'm like, the book doesn't say he was the Prince of Marseille, so I don't know where this came from.
He's so unnotable. I'm actually looking at the wiki right now. He doesn't even have his own page. If you look him up, it takes you to the page for the year 1435.
Yeah, I think he shows up on a list of like canonical minor characters, and like that's it. So if anybody has a citation, please let us know in the Discord. Discord. No, god damn it. Anyways, yeah. So Prince Bordana, sorry. It's taking so much of my willpower to not say Bourdain because I'm like, Anthony Bourdain would not do this to anyone. He was a goddamn saint. Anyways, so Bordana came into a room and was just super angry about his quote-unquote secret masters just doing some fuckery with him, and he just didn't... The typical Tremere bitching about the hierarchy of the pyramid fucking with their machinations and yada, 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 yada. So he decided to take these frustrations out on a woman.
What?
Yeah, which is shockingly bad. I'm not going to explain why that's bad. If you don't understand why that's bad, please go to therapy. So yeah, he had a violent altercation with her and decided his best way to get revenge was to drain her dry and then embrace her. Because the way Carna will explain it.
When I awoke, he laughed at me and called me his revenge against his masters. They have never had a female in their ranks. What will they think? Days later, we were in Vienna, where I became one of the Tremere. At first, despised for my gender, I strove to prove myself, both from my devotion to the leaders and my desire to prove my sire had done the right thing. I have not seen my prince since. He abandoned me to my fate and left me on that night I was bloodbound to the clan. Carna, Milwaukee by night, page 51.
This fuck-ass dude was like, I'm gonna trick you to move far away from your family, which your family was crazy, but still, like, used and abused her body for years, and then was like, I'm having a big feeling that I can't process, so I'm gonna take it out on you, and then leave you like a dead bird with the pyramid and 14 fuck you. Which, yeah, pretty much at this time period and for many centuries afterwards, yeah, the Tremere didn't really embrace women, like, ever. Or if they did, it was kind of like a whoopsie.
It's a very, very old school secret society move on their part, though.
Yeah, so...
It wasn't really until, I'm drawing a blank, it was the female-led one that, like, Hitler drew a lot lot from.
Madame Blavatsky.
It wasn't until, like, her that, like, women were really, really accepted into, like, occult secret societies.
This happening in the 1400s is really interesting, insofar as this was also a time period where, in the West, there was a lot of stripping of, like, occultic and academic powers from women to force them into the domestic spheres. And also forcing the domestic sphere to be an unpaid labor source. So she kind of fell in that time period of like, yeah, we used to like value the labor women did and various things, but now we've decided that your pretty little brain is too smooth. You're going to churn butter and make babies and clean my house, and that is it. And this mass force of indentured servitude, I think, is a lot of the bedrock of the economic output that would eventually lead to capitalism.
Yay.
Yay! Go read the book Caliban and the Witch. They have a lot more details about that kind of stuff. I just kind of gave a TLDR, being like, hi guys, Western society doesn't do all the fuck shit it does if it wasn't for the... Yeah, we're gonna make half of the population do all this labor for free, and if they complain about it, we're gonna beat them with sticks, and if they keep complaining, we're just gonna set them on fire.
Oh, that's fair. I was more talking specifically on the Tremere being like a secret occult society, which has largely been an old boys club for academia of history.
Yeah, a lot of academia has had these, Western academia specifically has had a lot of these issues with having female teachers and leaders in their spheres. Like, one of my favorite historical accounts that's kind of mirrors this stuff is, do you know Aspasia?
Sounds familiar, but...
She was the teacher of Socrates.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of her works have been removed from the historical record, and there's been a lot of changing accounts, and you can watch this throughout history, which is fascinating, where they went from, oh, she was like a really, like, learned scholar, and she really stuck out because she was like one of the few women that was good enough at philosophy to be a teacher, to she used the power of fuck to manipulate things. And I'm like, god damn it. And they're like, yeah, no, I was like, yeah, she was smart, but like, Was she really that smart? And a lot of the accounts of her being a teacher to Socrates has been erased, except for Socrates constantly is saying in his own notes, my teacher was Aspasia. So if it wasn't for him just out loud saying it, like, we would have just lost her as a historical figure.
That's crazy.
Through a lot of work and moxie, Carna was able to work her way through the ranks of not only the pyramid, but the Camarilla to become the Prince of Marseille.
Nice.
So, yay, good job for her.
Maybe that's the citation that people are just assuming because he was the prince, and he was a prince, and then left, and then she became the prince. That
maybe. I mean, I think it would be really funny if she Uno reversed and like took over his position.
Yeah,
that would be cool. But like, I have no actual documentation for that, so like, you know what? Use that as you want at your table. But like in the canon, I couldn't find notes.
Okay,
so there's that. Over the decades, Carna became disillusioned with the constant machinations of vampire politics, and these views gained a lot of scorn with her peers because she just very quickly got tired of the quote-unquote jihad. I'm going to say that term a lot because that's how in the canon the intergenerational wars between the vampires is constantly referred to as the jihad, but spelled with a Y.
It's different.
It's different. So it's one of those like I don't know if this is. I'm never sure quite how culturally insensitive using that word is in terms of gameplay.
It's something I've heard people use wrong, but I've not really heard anyone say, like, don't use it in this context. I know they changed the card game.
Yeah.
From that being in the title to not, but...
Yeah, so it's one of those, far as I know, it's not technically wrong, but I'm like, is this being used kind of in a different language context than what its original meaning is? So I don't know. But that's the word they use in the book, so I might just keep saying it. I wrote the script really tired last night, so I don't remember how many times I used it, and I'm sorry. But yeah, so basically, after just decades of dealing with vampire politics, she's just like, I'm so tired. I'm done. There's several accounts in the stories of Carna being described as, she's pretty, she looks tired. She's just done with everyone's shit.
I get that to a personal level.
I'm just like, girl, work, honestly. But eventually she gets removed from her position as prince. The text kind of gives a couple of different reasons. One of them is her being more politically outspoken on the, hey, why are we fighting all the time? This is crazy. Can we please not? And then Beckett cites that there was also several public indiscretions with mortal men.
Beckett.
He's like a vampire historian.
Okay.
He wrote a whole diary.
Yeah, it's called the Jihad Diary. He's bringing that word back up again.
Yeah. He will eventually be on the poll, but not immediately.
He's a tough nut to crack.
Oh my God, Cuthbert, you fucking Matt Mercer looking bitch. No, it's funny because, like, Danny, I don't know if you're aware of this. So the character art for Beckett in books previous to Matt Mercer getting, like, pretty publicly famous look a lot like Matt. And Matt has, at least 2 times I'm aware of, portrayed Beckett in actual plays that are, like LA by Night and shit.
That's fantastic.
And then in Gehenna Wars book, there's a lore sheet for Beckett. And it just looks more like Matt Mercer. They just, like, doubled down on it. So I'm like, that man can never escape.
That's just him now.
That's lovely.
I just love the idea of, in games, if you do have Beckett show up as an NPC, is having people be like, hey, do you know who Matt Mercer is? Just make Matt Mercer canon within the context of WoD. And he's just like, do you realize how much of a pain in the ass it is to be going somewhere and people asking me for autographs as Matt Mercer?
Just print off a picture of Matt Mercer and be like, this is him.
It just reminds me of the issues. What is Daniel Radcliffe and Elijah Wood get confused for each other and they autograph each other's shit. So kind of good news though. Being removed as the Prince of Marseille ends up working for Carna in the long run because almost the entire vampire population of Marseille is wiped out as of 2008 due to the Second Inquisition, which is around the same time the Prime Chantry gets fucked.
Yay.
It's almost like it might have been a coordinated thing.
My characters don't like the Second Inquisition.
You shouldn't.
Most don't.
They're terrible. And unfortunately, Carna gets shunted to the magical, delightful city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There is a weird amount of Midwestern cities that are like meta plot very important for World of Darkness in terms of vampire. And you're just like, what?
I hope she just, like, secretly becomes a cheesehead.
Oh my god, that would be so funny. I mean, kind of, technically, the Prince of Milwaukee's, like, a gang girl who's, like, a big sports fan. So it's canonical where there's scenes that character has watching sporting events, and then other characters are coming up and having, like, important vampire politics meeting with him
He's like, yeah,
in the booth, and he's like, hold on.
Wait. The Packers are about to score.
Yeah. In Beckett's Jihad Diaries, watching a baseball game. And Beckett's like, I need to talk to you about the serious political thing. And Decker's like, I'm watching the game. I love this game. I love World of Darkness. The system does crack, but like in the best ways.
Oh, it's fantastic.
On the note of Milwaukee, Wisconsin being particularly of note in the canon, this is a city that is constantly in conflict, starting with the violence due to settler colonialism. That's just what mortals did, and then you had the added impact of vampires from Europe coming over and interacting with, the lupine indigenous folks, and then the vampires that were also indigenous. Yeah, so there's a lot of that, and we're going to skim over that, and this has built on itself for centuries there's constantly fights between the Sabbat and the Camarilla in Milwaukee. So as far as Milwaukee is in terms of vampire politics, it is a very militant Camarilla city. And there's a lot of active patrols and a lot of kind of, if you like Tom Clancy levels of espionage.
Very occasionally.
Milwaukee's actually a pretty good setting for that.
Weird, but.
Which, yeah, sounds crazy. But yeah, if you want to have like a more action-based game where your characters are like suiting up to go fight werewolves.
Kind of makes sense, though, because Camarilla have a pretty strong grip on North America, but I know the Sabbat actually have a pretty big setup in Canada. Like, they control a lot of Canada from
and they're just, like, right up there.
Yeah, so it's, like, right across the border. So, of course, they'd be spying on the closest cities.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think, also part of the reason why Decker, who is the Prince of Milwaukee, is a gang girl, and the Camarilla just kind of leave him there. They're like, he's the fighty boy, he's maintaining the front line, we're just gonna leave him with his baseball. Which also feels like just a very mirror of politics that I've noticed in the US we do, where there's a lot of drudgery work and jobs that get just shunted into the Midwest, and we just kind of have to deal with it.
Used to be automotive.
Yeah, we'll ignore the failing manufacturing industries and all that.
Well, we're probably gonna get it back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be good. I'm not talking about that.
We
Depth of politics right now.
We've had either too much or not quite enough Malort to have that discussion, and I think that's fair. So
let me go get the bottle.
No. You just keep swilling your fucking glitter cocktail insanity.
Sparkly.
So that's the background for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for those who are just like, why the fuck would this big-ass NPC get sent there? In terms of more of the vampire politics, Carna works as the regent and the primogen for the Tremere in Milwaukee, but she actually lacks any level of authority, like, internally in terms of working with the Tremere. The Inner Council has Carna reporting to a Tremere known as Victor, who was a fucking CIA agent when he was alive, and then he got embraced, and now he works as, like, a Tremere assassin. I just realized what I did. Yeah, so for the audience who can't see, because it's an audio-based medium, I'm wearing the t-shirt that says, basically, to the best award in journalism isn't the Pulitzer Prize, it's getting assassinated by the CIA.
Oh.
I didn't plan this, I just put on a clean shirt. Whoops. Yeah. So he's more of, like, the acting regent, but Carna is the public-facing regent and primogen. And then we also have the complication of a character named Dr. Mortius.
Oh boy, not Mr. Mortius.
It was so hard to not write Morbius every time I had to mention him in the script. And I was like, no, it's Mortius.
It's Morbin time.
God damn it.
It's Morton time.
It is Morton time, ayo. But Victor reports to Mr. Mortius, Dr. Mortius, but not so much as in an authoritative, like, chain of command way. It's just Tremere who gets sent to Milwaukee are sent there by the Inner Council for specific reasons. And Mortius is doing a bunch of research. He has investigations on the Null Zone, as well as he's trying to prevent those seeking forbidden knowledge within the Milwaukee Chantry from accessing it. So he's just kind of in the corner doing his own thing.
So he's like hiding info from other Tremere while also investigating his own thing.
Yeah, and then Victor's kind of like running shit, and he's also reporting back directly to the Inner Council, who's like the head of the Tremere.
Okay.
And so basically, Karna's role is to basically act as the public face of the Tremere in Milwaukee, and then she's also in charge of like handling the night-to-night politics. You know, that thing she fucking hates.
Yay.
Her ability to work on her own stuff basically relies on Victor giving positive reports of her behavior and activities to the Inner Council. So he's kind of like her chaperone boss,
Okay.
which sucks.
That sucks, but it is a fun setup for politics.
Oh, yeah. Like, role-playing that kind of dynamic, or, like, learning about that in-game as players witnessing NPCs. Fantastic story, very dramatic. Actually dealing with that, fucking nightmare.
Yes.
Fucking hate that. She is written in the Milwaukee by Night book as a clever manipulator who will wield her feminine charms to get as she wishes. But she's also written as somebody who, because her humanity is so fucking low, she will turn that shit off in a second, and you just go,
Oh, fuck.
I'm fucked. Do you want to guess what her humanity is according to her character sheet in the Milwaukee by Night book as of like I'm gonna say like the 90s?
Can you go into negatives?
No, then you're a white.
You're white or you're on a path.
Yeah, that's fair. She's not on a path.
Yes.
2.
I was actually thinking 2 as well.
One.
Oh,
Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
She's like right there.
Fucking shit.
I
Yeah.
can't even remember what 1 in Old World was. That basically just like, I won't commit a genocide.
Yeah, it's bad.
Like, the old low was much more extreme than I think it is in the new book.
yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad time. It's a bad time. So, yeah, keep that in mind during this time period. Our girl is not doing great in the mental health department. It is also written that she takes lovers and suitors, but due to her troubled past with abuses and her family past, she has a bad habit of making those relationships toxic and then killing her former lovers when they react. I'm gonna note, I have a little bit of problem with the way this is written, mostly because I was like, I understand she's lost her humanity a lot, and if this kind of behavior is a way to highlight that, that's fine. But as somebody who's had to be in domestic violence situations and stuff, reacting to those kinds of abuses with like hypersexuality is something that does happen and that does make sense. But the way it's written in this book, it reads very, a man wrote this as a trope to be like, yeah, she's damaged. And it's very, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie like Poison Ivy.
Like the DC character?
No, it's a movie with like Drew Barrymore when she was a teenager, where she's like got this like fucked up troubled life, and her response and character is to like seduce men and like kill them.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of women and femme people, when we are abused, our reaction is not to become a seducer of men to murder you. Like, if you want to do that as a story trope or a power fantasy, like, that's fine, but I think it gives a lot of bad messaging on how those situations are and how people, like, actually deal with trauma. So, like, that's my editing note, is, like, maybe that might need a little judging or, context, or you might want to, you as a storyteller, if you're going to run Milwaukee by Night or Carna in this time period, you might want to do a little research or do some consent check with your players to be like, hey, so she's having a reaction. Like, there's lists of like Tremere rituals in the book from this time period, and one of them is a ritual that it specifically says Carna made up as a revenge ritual, where when she's finished with the ritual, what it does is it slowly desiccates the target until they basically collapse into nothing and die. And it's a ritual that can only be performed on men as the target. And I'm like, I feel like this person doesn't understand how misandry works. Really?
So I actually looked up that movie.
Yeah.
Written and directed by a woman.
Really?
But I'm looking at the stuff she does. A lot of movies about murderous strippers, so I think she might just be...
She might just be working through something.
She might just be into some things.
Yeah.
Including a vampire movie.
What?
About a stripper who becomes a vampire after attempting suicide.
What the fuck?
So
Okay.
that just might be the kind.
That might just be her thing.
Tropes.
And
Yeah.
like,
Also, she wrote the sequel to Carrie, apparently, and directed it if she didn't work.
I kind of remember that movie being okay. I don't know. It's just one of those, like, I don't mind people playing with like weird tropes and shit. it's just one of those sometimes I'm like, hey.
It's also the 90s. I feel like a lot of movies in that era just had, including World of Darkness, just had no time for subtlety or detail. They're just like, this is what's happening. We're moving on.
It's like...
Sex violence?
Yeah. I was like, how do I explain this? I love the movie Foxy Brown. The movie's great. I fucking love Pam Grier. She was like one of my first lesbian crushes. She's great. But I'm not gonna say that everything that happens in that movie is like a true to life makes sense reaction to the kinds of traumas that Foxy Brown deals with. But that film's also like a hyper realism trope thing. But you're going into the movie understanding that's what it is. And sometimes this is just Sarah going, hey, there is a potential bleed issue here, / giving bad information depending on how realistic your game is. So just, caution. That's all. Yellow flag. Just like, hey guys, just be aware. Anyways, continuing on. The Inner Council has great interest in the high strangeness and the cultic energies of the Midwest, particularly Milwaukee, which is weird to say every time I've had to say it. But there's 2 big reasons. One of them is the Null Zone. So, Null Zones are known as, in terms of World of Darkness, it's basically like a Backrooms-esque magic space that allows shifters and mages to step sideways, quote unquote, into the Umbra. So step sideways is the term in canon used to, I'm on the material plane, I'm in the regular world. I'm a step sideways, now I'm in the Umbra. It's the Simpsons bit of, I'm in Australia, I'm in America, I'm in Australia, I'm in America. But the Null Zone is this vast, like, cacophonous, just vague assemblages of hallways and waiting rooms and spaces that are like time doesn't work correctly, and you can walk through the Null Zone to get to the Umbra.
Okay, so it's kind of, I don't know, World of Darkness's outer world is so insane.
The cosmology is bananas.
Because the Umbra is like, exists directly over our own, but there are also in-between spaces, in between the 2 places that exist on top of each other.
Yeah, so basically the Null Zone is the backroom TM of this, where it's like an in-between space that you can just hide in there for an indeterminate amount of time, but because time doesn't work and you don't really age, you just kind of are like, well, I'm stuck here, but time is going normal outside of that space, so...
It's kind of like a stasis
Technically,
zone.
Yeah, if you really wanted to.
So, like, I could be 20. I could walk in there. My friend who is also 20, if I sat in there for, quote-unquote, 5 years, they could be 25. I would step out and still be 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So, time moves in the real world. It just doesn't there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's like the standard kind of the Null Zone. And I feel like this is also an extension to why there's so many like goblin roads around Milwaukee in that area.
So the goblin roads might tie into the Null Zone, not just the Umbra.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, it ties the goblin roads is also another in-between slippy place where you could end up in the Umbra, you could end up in the hedge.
Oh.
You could end up in lots of places.
That's not a positive.
No, you could end up in other worse places, like Arkansas. Who knows?
I didn't say that as like a positive. I said like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's narratively it's really cool, and you have to like find people who are used to traveling the Goblin Roads, where they're just like snorting like Hunter S. Thompson amounts of drugs.
I was like, as soon as you said Goblin Roads, I'm like, that sounds terrifying.
Oh, it's great. I love just being like, yeah, we're gonna go here. Here's your driver. He's on something. He's gonna take a very specific set of directions. He will occasionally stop the car, get out, burn something, and leave quickly.
There's a really cool Hunter setup adventure in the book that kind of ties into Goblin Roads.
Yeah, and there's the Goblin Roads like lore sheet in the Chicago by Night stuff as well, which is also like super cool. You can get a lore sheet thing where you're friends with a changeling if you want.
Probably not a good move, but
I mean, it depends.
That is such a storyteller thing. Like, it depends.
Yeah, it's like it could be good, could not be.
You can do it.
Yeah,
sure, go ahead.
That's my favorite way to do storytelling. It's like, I'm just going to present a couple of options. You tell me what you do, and the world will react accordingly.
Yay.
Yay. It's like,
you can do it.
Is this a good choice or a bad choice? I'm like, mixed.
It can be.
Usually it's mixed. You got the nugget you wanted, but also here's an extra problem. Have fun. But the Null Zone also talks about a area around specifically Marquette University, which is where the Tremere Chantry also is. Shockingly, the Tremere are in a college. Wow. But yeah, this area around the Marquette University, this is where a final battle between the guru Usla and the vampire elder Chiclana happened. And Usla used spirits to turn himself into a talisman to be able to remove the magic powers of the elder vampire Vitae to slay their foe. But Usla is also technically dead, but not, because they're in a talisman, or several talisman. But a lot of people don't know that's what he did because they weren't there for the fight. So there's this big mystery in the Milwaukee area of like, why are there portions of, particularly around this university, where magic doesn't work or it's dampened in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people are there doing investigations on this anti-magic zone, including Mortius, which I love his description in the Milwaukee by Night book because he does one of my favorite character tropes, which is he's an old-ass vampire who makes, like, occult trinkets, but technology has caught up to his occult trinkets. So nothing he makes is impressive. He's like, look, child, I've made this device that lets you see so far away with this tube.
Oh, cool. You made binoculars.
Yeah, and it was like, pulls out their phone and uses the zoom function. And it's like, look, I also can have, like, night vision. I can change the filters.
I can look up cameras all over the world, actually.
Yeah, but he's just like, oh, okay, well.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll go back to my studies then. But yeah, he's the one that's focusing on studying what happened here with all of this stuff. It is also posited that because of the strange properties of the Marquette University null zone, that may have helped Carna be able to do the thing that she does.
Interesting.
Which is a interesting hypothesis. So if this null zone thing is interesting to you and you want to like explore it more in your games, there is a lore sheet for it in Let the Streets Run Red.
Really?
Yeah,
Cool.
there's a bunch of cool stuff you can get with that. You can even get one of these sacred guru talismans.
Nice.
So yeah, Milwaukee's a great setting if you want to have a little shifter in your vampire game, or if you want to have a little vampire in your shifter game.
Nice.
So we do love a crossover event. The other big thing that has the Intercouncil concerned is the Das Bucht von Grabkrieg. I don't know if I said that correctly or well.
Well, I hope you said it correctly, because, yeah, there might be some upset people, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. I didn't do the doofy accent. That's fine. But in English, it's called Book of the Grave War.
Oh, yeah, that sounds very nice.
Yeah. This is a end times text focusing on Gehenna and the power of blood bonds.
Yeah, another world
World-ending
text.
Yeah, in-lore text. There's so many in-lore texts. The original tome was penned during the 12th or 13th century in Germany. Its author is contested, but most commonly agreed is the Malkavian elder Jacob.
I believe it's called Jacob, so I appreciate if you said it correctly.
Nah.
Thank you, yeah.
Well, Jacob is also known as Esawu. I've never. These are two like old ass Bible names, and I only know Jacob. The other one I don't know, so I'm gonna call him E-Man.
Yeah, that's one of the ones. That's one of the ones that even the Christians are like, we don't need to name all our sons
It's
this.
Amen. Thank you, yeah.
I have no idea how to say this. I was not raised Christian, so I don't know.
I was, and I don't know this word. So
I was Catholic, so all I have is guilt.
Fair. So Jacob is a multi-malk, but his multi-malks are like fighting against each other in the Great Jihad intergenerational battles. So he's constantly like playing himself. It's fascinating. I love it. He's also just a really fun character to read. If you get the chance to like look over his text, it's great. But the author of the text, it is documented that when you read the book, that the author is noting that while they're writing the book, they're hearing voices.
Madness Network.
Yeah, the book also writes about clans with symbols that don't exist yet in that timeline.
Interesting.
And the word for vampire is always replaced with an Ankh symbol.
So that's where that comes from in universe,
Part of it.
probably.
Well, it might be a reference, and it's one of those, like, there's a lot of inferences you can have with that, because when it was like, oh, they're writing about clans that don't exist yet, I'm like, is he referring to the Hekata?
Yeah. I guess it doesn't specifically say who.
No.
Hey, those are on my dice.
Yeah. The in the text there, it was like, oh yeah, this might be just like strange bloodlines that haven't formed or not formed or got lost in history, that kind of thing. I'm over here like, is it the fucking Hekata? Did this motherfucker call the Hekata before everybody else?
What's it called? The Great Family Meeting or something like that?
Yeah. Well, there's like the original truce that happens in 1455.
I'm talking about the more modern.
And then they have the big family conclave in more modern times. So yeah, might have called that. Might have also been like calling but what if the Thin Bloods are a clan?
That's still my pet theory.
Mm-hmm.
That they're going to like kind of,
Yeah.
even if they're not respected, they'll at least kind of start to act like a clan in some
ways. Yeah. Who knows? But that's one of those like fun, like this is a plot hook that depending on your game, you can do a lot of shit with this. And I do like the implication of Onks being associated with vampire stuff a lot because it constantly just means the Setites are in the background going, but wait a second, what if we were right? What if we were right the whole time? You guys are just assholes. Yeah, who knows? So, fun side note, this Jacob Malkavian is potentially the sire of Jeanette and Therese Vorman from the Bloodlines game.
That makes sense.
But he could just be talking a load of shit. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
World of Darkness. But yeah, fun thing with the Book of the Grave War is not only does it document techniques for control and manipulation, there are also rites and rituals for breaking blood bonds and even clan ties. Kind of a big deal as a plot device. There is concern that there is some mote of madness that the author may have left within the text of this book. Thus, anyone who reads it might slowly go insane.
Very Lovecraft.
It's very Lovecraft. Or this is a story made up to keep baby bats from reading the book.
All right.
Both
Cool.
could be true. Who knows? It's like, they're going mad because they've read this book of forbidden knowledge. It's like, no, they're understandably paranoid because they read the book that gives them the get out of jail free card, and mom and dad are going to be pissed.
See, if I were to redesign, we talked about in a previous episode,
Yeah.
but like actually making dementation, like for 5th edition,
Uh-huh.
I think being able to like use dementation through text would be
Super
really cool
fun.
as a higher level ability. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm shit posting so hard. This guy's got to take on a mental illness temporarily.
Oh my god, Hunter, that would make you unstoppable. Don't just shrug.
Power fantasy.
Don't just give me the I'm a little guy shrug. Anyways,
I'm just a baby.
so there's conflation of Milwaukee and Athens, with the city being referred to as the German Athens, with many Methuselahs being buried under quote-unquote Athens. Because that's something that keeps getting talked about in the Book of the Grave War. It's like, oh yeah, there's these ancients that slumber underneath the city of Athens, and when they arise, the city will burn, and there'll be a great rising and flood. And then Jacob's like, yeah, no, Milwaukee is just, German Athens. Like, it all lines up. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
So Milwaukee is kind of a vampire holy land?
Kind of.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
That really puts Milwaukee in a new context.
Yeah, it's just a lot of like, what? Though I suppose for a lot of people that live in Greece, like Athens is kind of like, whatever.
What's also scary about that is when you say the Methuselahs being buried under there,
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're not just napping.
Yeah, probably just napping.
So there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot of, in the canon lore, just ominous vague posting, if you will. They're like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of Methuselahs that are just asleep under the Great Lakes. Don't worry about it.
Makes sense if they're trying to keep the Sabbat out. If things get real bad, to be like, all right, go wake up dad.
Yeah, that's maybe why the Sabbat like to hang around that area, because they're like, we know they're under here. We just gotta find them.
It's both a good way to keep them out and a bad way to keep them away.
Yeah. It's... It's also left uncertain in the text if Carna partook in diablerie of any of these Methuselah in her breaking away from the clan. I tend to think that she hadn't done a diablerie, but considering her humanity ranking of 1 in the Milwaukee by Night book, it isn't completely out of the question. But considering her humanity rating is 1, if you do diablerie, you immediately lose a humanity, so that would make her a white, just automatically.
Interesting.
So it's like, mechanics-wise, that doesn't make sense, but Beckett does a lot of like, she maybe did this thing, I don't know, I can't rule it out, and it's like, buddy, I think you're paranoid, maybe?
That's so interesting, because I know that like vampires themselves don't have the numerical ranking of their humanity or anything
so
like that.
they
It's
in
an
character
in-lore
don't
thing.
know.
They don't know, but I'm sure there are vampires who know that, like, in relation to their beast, like, my beast is getting so strong, I need to be careful about doing certain things. So there is a chance that, like, she could have been like, I need to do things to get my humanity back so that I could diablerize this guy.
Or she just didn't, and this is just some weird, like, conspiracy posting?
It's really hard to tell. I thought in canon she has moved up a generation or so.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Like, she has a character sheet in Milwaukee by Night, and I haven't seen any updated character sheets. Like, she has a lore sheet in V5, but she doesn't have, like, a stat block.
That's fair. There's
So-
a lot of characters who haven't gotten updated V5 sheets.
Yeah, so it's one of those, like, that can be up to storyteller determination. That's just a note of, this is an interesting in the context of lessons that may have been taught within the Book of the Grave War, but I don't have anything concrete, so, you know, plot hooks, more plot hooks for everyone.
Speaking of that lore sheet, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if anybody would be interested in getting a copy of the Book of the Grave War, the Carna lore sheet and the core book, if you get the 5th dot, you have access to a copy of this book, which gives you an automatic success on any occult check involving Gehenna, preventing Gehenna, and breaking out of the control of the elders.
Ooh.
You also gain the unbondable merit whilst you are in the whilst you have the book and maintain the practices within the book. What those practices are is left to storyteller interpretation, so have fun with that. And unfortunately, you get the flaw of you are hunted by the Tremere because they want to destroy you for learning things from the book and destroy that copy of the book.
Boo.
So this
They
is
don't
one
like that book.
They don't. No, a lot of Tremere classic don't like the whole leaving the pyramid structure thing. They get very upsetty spaghetti about that.
But I like the spaghetti.
No, upsetty. How dare you? We gave you this gift that you maybe did or did not want or not, maybe did or did not fully get into, but we have a system, goddammit. And you can't deviate from the system. And it turns out you can. Woo! So while Mr. Mortius was studying the book.
The Grave War book.
Yes. Carna somehow got a hold of it, possibly with the help of Jacob. Jacob seems to be an almost Methuselah-level elder character that just likes to show up and go, "Hi guys, I have a lot of opinions and I'll talk really fast and I'll just kind of nudge some things in the politics and then like squid away."
That's fun.
Which
I
is
like
very
that.
Malkavian.
Yes.
And then, in the words of Carna, then another quote.
I hear from time to time of your search. Victor recently bemoaned this amateur named Beckett who, through fortune, had acquired a trinket my clan had desperately sought. The Codex of the Udinic Groundskeepers. I could not suppress my smile. Astrid Thomas was demoted in status as a result of your acquisition. She will boil the blood behind those wonderful eyes of yours should she trace you. Carna, Beckett's Jihad Diary, page 4.
So at least from what I'm able to tell within the canon of the story, Carna taught herself the skills to break the bonds of the pyramid. So she's no longer blood bond to the pyramid and therefore the clan, which was the old clan bane for the Tremere. Because your embrace wasn't just oh yeah, you're kind of bound to your sire. They would make you go to Vienna and go do a big ritual where you're bound to the clan. For reasons. Nothing more. Don't worry about it. Within the book, the path of Golconda is listed out in a way that allows her to quote-unquote revel in the joys of sex and intimacy, as well as more full understandings of what the process of Golconda is. So I guess part of your getting your humanity back is you get to fuck.
Makes sense. I think we've talked about it before. Like, you kind of just lose interest in sex the further down the humanity
Yeah.
list you go. It's like, it's such a human thing that, like, you kind of become cold to it, even if you still have the impulse to do it. You get nothing out of it, really.
Yeah, it becomes more of like a power thing as opposed to like I'm having a connection with another human being. Blah, blah, blah. Breaking the bonds with the book essentially marks Carna as some kind of anti-tribute, which in the terms of Beckett Jihad Diary in the timeline, this is post Goratrix doing that big ritual in Mexico City where he just nuked all of the House Goratrix Tremere. So there's no anti-tribute.
So she becomes the first again.
Yeah, it's just her. She's just like, fuck. Also, while studying this work, she begins to research the cults of Isis from ancient Egypt and some that exist in modern Berlin, apparently. It is discovered after Carna does her business and flees Milwaukee. There's a Bahari cult of Isis that goes to the Tremere Chantry to cleanse it and strip it of its resources before stoking a war between the Sabbat and the Camarilla in Milwaukee. They're just like, all right, I got my supplies. Get fucked. I'm on my way out, deuces, and then just flips the bird while falling backwards into hell.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah. Those of this particular branch of a Bahari cult speak of these whisperings coming within Lake Michigan, and it is some sort of feminine entity.
So it could be a Methuselah, it could be something else.
Yeah, there is a character in the Chicago by Night book for V5 that I'm not going to spoil because of people doing plot things. That might be this entity mentioned here.
Might not be.
It might not be. Plot hooks. Have fun. Beckett also notes that the discovery of this book marks a turn in Carna's demeanor. The woman he had a small romantic relationship with centuries ago, who was unsure and deprived, was now more of a force of change, along with showing signs of paranoia. Which, again, if you have the forbidden text that will make the Tremere nuke you from orbit, yeah, I think I'd be a little paranoid too. I would just be a little like, oh, Dad's gonna kill me. Oh, no. It is noted by Beckett that Carna believes that by studying this tome and embodying the lessons within, she and others might be able to lessen the powers of the Methuselahs and the Antediluvians.
Interesting.
Which makes this book, metaplot-wise, a big fucking deal.
Big deal. I feel like the Sabbat and the Anarchs would really like to get a hold of that.
Yeah, just a bit. Carna had begun speaking out about revolution as a primogen before she ends up fleeing the city. She had gotten into a fight during one of the primogen meetings, which resulted in her being staked and by a fellow primogen council member and then returned to Victor, her keeper. It was witnessed by the former Bruja primogen that Victor was screaming at and berating Carna for her quote-unquote acting out when he thought no one else was looking. So he's just like, yeah, so apparently the Bruja guy went, oh, homegirl's in a bad situation. I'm gonna pull up my squad and go handle this. So when they circled back to be like, hey, Carna, you good? She was already packing to leave.
Shit.
So it seems this incident was the big impetus for her to be like, all right, fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm done. I ain't taking this shit no more. And I'm like, you know what, good for you. And apparently whatever word she had said to this group of Bruja, which was a mix of like those loyal to the Camarilla as well as like Bruja Anarchs, but this was before the second Anarch revolt, so they're still technically in the Camarilla. It's very confusing. But whatever she said to this little group of folks that are longtime Milwaukeeans who have been trained to fight Garou went, you know what, we're going with you.
Oh shit.
So as part of her squad is now people that are trained in actual combat.
Lovely.
And I'm like, hey,
Good for you.
good for you.
I'm semi interested in why so many Anarchs were like going after the werewolves, but
this is like a time in vampire politics where the Anarch movement wasn't really a movement yet. They were just kind of,
this is still in there, kind of just like we're in the Camarilla, but we don't agree.
yeah, they're like, we don't like this hierarchy shit, but like
Society's cool.
But society is cool. Yeah. So a lot of those kinds of folks end up picking up kind of like grunt work, I guess is the better way to explain it. And because Milwaukee is such a combat heavy setting, a lot of those Anarchs end up being part of what's called like the Anubis, which is like a whole group of vampires that are specially trained into fighting and killing Garou. It's actually pretty metal.
Yeah.
What is that? Just because I don't know what the Guru are.
That's werewolves.
Werewolves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they call themselves.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Vampires call them lupines.
Ah, okay.
But in the world of darkness, technically that's a slur. And unfortunately, the term lupine has like fallen into the slur portion of my brain, so I just going back to Garou. I'm trying to respect the terminology of a society of people that don't exist.
Gotcha.
Yay.
I'm trying. Yeah. So there's also evidence within Beckett's Jihad diary that Carna may have been trying to set up a sabotage between Beckett and Micah Vikos. And this could have also been just a regular meeting to go over what was in the book with the true world's most leading Nodist scholars. I don't know. Like, Beckett shows up after Carna had fled Milwaukee at the start of Beckett's Jihad diary. It's literally the first thing that happens in the books. I don't give a fuck about the spoilers. So he's going through like one of her former havens and finds this like half-written letter to Micah Vikos. And Beckett is like, what if she was setting something up for a sabotage? Like, immediately goes, she is sus, she's doing something terrible, and da-da-da. I'm like, if I got a book that gave me the power to undermine the power of the Antediluvians as an epidemic, I think it's reasonable to be like, I'm going to reach out to the two Nodist scholars that I know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And one of them that I've had a romantic relationship with that I didn't murder. So apparently they're still on good terms. So I'm like, buddy, why are you so sus immediately? That's rude. But, it's your chronicle. You can run with that plot point however you wish.
He was also writing how she got really weird and paranoid and bizarre after finding the book. So maybe he's like, what's this about?
What's this about? Yeah. But there was also a Sabbat attack happening around when all of this was happening. So it's like, I understand some of the paranoia on Beckett's side. Like, I get it. There was a Sabbat attack that had resulted from the discovery of the Book of the Gravor, which resulted in a lot more damage to the city. Like, it's noted that, like, they've lost Primogen Council members. A lot of Camarilla vampires in the city are missing and or presumed dead. And it seems that the Sabbat coming to the city was a result of them finding out about this book's existence, and they were trying to get it, but Carna had already left by the time they showed up. So they just did a whole mass of slaughter for nothing, as is the Sabbat's way. Just, mass violence. Did it produce any results? We did the violence.
There's less of them.
There's less of them. I think there's also just a really strong possibility that Carna wanted to share the knowledge within the book with those who were already outspoken against the clan founders and authorities in general, like Sasha Vikers and Beckett.
That's fair, yeah.
That seems like a fair, like, she might have just been like, hey guys, I found a cool book.
This is neat.
But then everything went to fuck after she got staked and yelled at, and she went, you know what, fuck this, I'm leaving. So, who knows? This has a lot of options. Though the final note involving the Book of the Graveward I wanted to note was, within Beckett's Jihad diary, there is a note from the Nosferatu Oculos, who is known as a ally of Beckett, that there is backup of Jacob's claim that there are Methuselahs and there's some sort of Tremere interfluence within the Hiawatha National Park, which is not far from Milwaukee. So there's a third party going, there's some verifications for things that are being said in the book. Yikes on trikes. Uh-oh. Maybe this bitch had a point. So what you do with that in your chronicle? I'm not at your table. I don't know. Just more plot hooks. But we do get a road trip. Carna ends up building up a small unit of followers and flees to the West Coast. From what records are able to be found, it seems that Carna, when she broke ranks, she was able to pull a sizable amount of the Tremere within the Midwest to go with her. Not only within the Milwaukee Chantry, which she ends up leaving in ruins. There's also the Chicago Chantry, Green Bay, Manitowoc, are like officially listed as Tremere sites that lost people due to Carna's influence. There's kind of implications that there's other little Tremere pockets in the Midwest that she was able to like reach out to, and they just went, yeah, fuck it, we're leaving too.
I really hope that the Green Bay Tremere just all left with like fucking cheese blocks on their head.
No, you need to understand the shape of the cheese wedge is sacred.
You could have a pyramid. You could carve one of those big foam cheese heads into a pyramid.
Oh my god. I'm just now imagining, that photo of Aleister Crowley? Yeah, where he's got his hands on the side of his dome and he's got the pointy hat.
Cheese.
Just make it a cheese square.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also just, there's all these like depictions of like occult academic researcher guys just being these doofy guys with like little posh British accents. And I just love the idea of just being like, no, I'm not going to put the knife down. No, it needs to be done on this specific cycle of the waning moon. Like, I love that just so much.
Oh, you betcha. Like, no, it's got to be done right here and now.
Mm-hmm. We wasted too much time previously. We wasted the last blue moon cycle. And we only got one more harvest moon before the year is over. Okay, I only got good at that accent because TLDR years ago when I first started DMing, people expected me to do a Scottish accent for dwarves. And I have a lot of like self-consciousness about like my home accent, and I own that. It's very stupid and trauma-based, but whatever. And I just didn't like my friends drunkenly yelling at me to perform my own voice. So I just made old dwarves like Wisconsinites.
Oh, that's fucking fantastic.
They seem to have a similar energy, and it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Changes up Lord of the Rings a lot, though. Could you imagine?
Instead of mining for gems, they're mining for cheese.
I mean, they can still mine for gems and then just have cheese. Just, oh yeah, this is our great leader, Oakenshield. Like,
oh, he's Thorin Oakenshield. He's the last line of Durin, let me tell you.
We dug too deep. Sorry.
We dug too deep. We found the Balrog. Oh gosh.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
that
jeez.
was a problem. Can we get him a salad?
Oh, the drums in the deep. Let me tell you.
We've had too much Valorant. Anyway. So, as a result of the news about this Book of the Grave War being discovered, the Tremere sent special agents and specialists in masse to investigate what had happened, as well as try to shut down this formation of the new House Carna before it becomes too unwieldy. I will say this over and over again, and I need a lot of people to understand, in terms of Camarilla politics, the Tremere are the military branch of the Camarilla. So, when they send fuckers to go do a thing, it's not fuck around time.
Yeah.
Like, I know everyone's like, oh, the Tremere are fucking stupid war criminals. I'm like, yeah, they're war criminals, guys. They earned that. Like, this is serious business. Imagine being on the run from the CIA, but they're also wizards.
And also being like, but we can become the new CIA.
So Beckett uncovers that later on in the tales, but he discovers that Tremere has either overtaken or shares the body of Goratrix, which I think is a fun plot element. And for some reason, Tremere also sponsors House Carna for a long period of time. This tactic could have been a play to more basically I think there's a couple of different plays that are being done here. Either this is a play to out more of the rogue elements of the Tremere.
To see who they are, to weed them out.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, well, if Goramir, as I'm terming this entity, if Goramir already went out and wiped off the board all of the anti-tribu with that mass ritual, I think his idea of trying to solidify the pyramid by removing any rogue elements would be done by potentially having House Carna as a this is a safe place you guys can go, and they just kind of play whack-a-mole. I think that's one element of it, potentially. And I think there's also in the tradition of, because Tremere was a mage, somebody's like, yes, I have this elaborate machination. I'm so smart. And then, shockingly, things got out of hand. And he's like, I didn't plan for that. Shit. Turns out, it was like, oh, shit, Karna's actually good at this. I thought I could use her. And it turns out, I just funded the Mujahideen. Fuck.
Yay.
That's fine. There's no historical implications for this at all. Good news in the timeline where this book happens, Carna can't have done 9/11, so it's fine. I also think there is a potential for a gigantic ploy for the Tremere to be kept infighting and having a lot of infrastructural problems. Because if Tremere and Saulat were fighting in the worm body and Tremere escaped into the Goratrix body, that leaves Saulat in the worm body. And that entity is still technically also the head of the clan as well. And Saulat would be like, well, if I keep the babies fighting, they're going to be too busy to stop whatever the fuck I'm doing.
That's fair.
So that version of Tremere might be the one that was sponsoring House Carna, where it's good chaos, let it rain. I'm doing whatever fuck shit I'm doing.
So then he can go and take out his old body or whatever.
Yeah, because it's kind of noted in the text for Beckett's Jihad Diary that Clan Tremere is probably the only clan that is apt to fight Saulat, let alone any of the other anti-tribu. Or not anti-tribu, antediluvians.
Yeah.
So they're like, if we take out the most competent clan first, this will be cake. And I'm like, oh, no.
So he might be actually setting up.
He might have set up the things for the attack on the Prime Chantry and all that other shit.
Okay.
That might have been a 4D chess move the whole time. And I'm like, oh, no. That makes things for the Gehenna Wars book very interesting.
Oh.
If I sabotage my own clan from the inside, no one will be able to stop the rest of us.
Exactly. Which leads into...
Shrecht stared across the table at his counterparts. If the choice had been without consequence, both would be snuffed out without hesitation. Unfortunately, they served a purpose. He knew because his blood told him it was so. He turned to the woman at the other corner. And House Carna. Carna ran her right forefinger over the palm of her left hand as she spoke.
My house rejects the old ways shaped by men and seeks pagans, witches, and chaos magicians who look to the future. For the sake of our clan's survival, we must cast our net wider. Now that the old bonds wither and your house is one of the last keeping with the regimented structure of the pyramid, I see no reason to cling to tradition.
Shrek clenched his jaw without realizing it, his fists balling. You would abandon centuries of tradition on a schismatic whim. How is it that House Tremere finds more in common with House Goretrix these nights? Carna shrugged without looking up.
That sounds like a problem, Carl. One you need to address. No, that House Carna is still Camarilla, for the time being at least.
Her head facing her hands, her eyeline flicked upward, and her gaze connected briefly with his.
You have heard the same voices we have. Neither of us is wrong. We must be permitted to pursue our paths separately and come together when the time is right. V5 Core Book, page 94.
Unlike what the Tremere had planned, House Carna stands as a major faction within the splintering clan. Whoops.
They're now like one of the main pillars.
They're like one of the few remaining major houses of the clan now. Whoops.
Yay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, get fucked. Many records and resources have been lost between the Second Inquisition, Sabbat, and various cult attacks. Clan Tremere's not standing as pretty as they used to. Oh no. But this chaos has also proven to be fertile ground for new schools of thought and new alliances. So it's kind of a, plot-wise, kind of a mixed bag. You could have something to be said about the cycles of birth, death, and regrowth being kind of fundamental to the clan, but it's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's also just a good way to realign the game and the people and the characters in it with new schools of thought, especially occult thought that have taken relevance in the last 20 plus years.
Oh yes, it's good. Not like my chaos magic having ass is not sitting here going, yes, good, I enjoy this. The Solitarchs, that's kind of fantastic. But anyways, the House Carna preach freedom from the blood bond, the tyranny of the pyramid, and the rampant misogyny that the entirety of the clan deals with. So, seems kind of relaxed and groovy in a way. The members of this house prefer to refer to themselves as witches as opposed to traditionalists or warlocks, as you would see with House Tremere, or radicals, which you would see with the Solitarchs, House Epismus, and potentially the House Goretrix with what's the new Goretricians are doing.
Okay.
It's weird that House Goretrix is back. It's being headed by Goretrix or Goromir. They leave that vague. But the implications are pretty high that I'm like, Old Man Jenkins.
He might have taken over House Goretrix to make it into the new House Tremere and take out the old House Tremere.
Yeah, because the new House Goretrix is basically pushing to be more aligned in with the House Tremere. So now you have House Tremere and House Goretrix kind of working together. And then House Carna's like, yeah, I guess I'm with the Camarilla. I've never really left. But I do a lot with the Anarchs. They're kind of my favorite.
But I was like a prince, technically.
Yeah, well, what happens with the house is slightly different from the way Carna reacts, which that kind of split is interesting. The members within the sect have taken, I already said that part. Sorry, I'm so sorry. While House Carna still plays nice with the Anarchs, they're still officially part of the Camarilla and benefit from that power structure.
Okay.
So basically those within the house will use their assets and connections while being part of the Camarilla to help out and support other people, which is kind of a good thing. You can have some stories about what I've thought would be interesting as critiques on ineffectual white feminism and not understanding intersectional politics. But that's a kind of deep cut of a game theme for a lot of people's tables, I know.
There's that. There's also, because the Camarilla is so much more locked down, it's illegal to be an anarch in most Camarilla cities now. There is kind of a interesting way for them to pipeline those resources, because a lot of the other Camarilla are we don't really understand what you guys do in those pyramids of yours, but... Yeah,
it's dealing with the guys in House Tremere, they're assholes. And they're hard to talk to because a lot of them are stuffy and stuck in the old ways. Yeah. And House Carna's a little hip, a little newer. They're willing to deal with Wiccans. They're willing to explore and investigate other schools of occultic thought that like hermetic magics maybe wouldn't take as seriously, but they treat them all with like the same kind of like, oh no, we're all doing magic. These are all fields of study that are worth like the same amount of academic resources. Why would you not?
Makes them also more interesting as a house that might even be open to working with like Guru or like actual mages instead of just killing all of them.
Yeah, that's actually a big thing with them now, which I find absolutely fascinating. So this faction is seen to be more keen on studying blood sorcery of all varieties. This includes thin blood alchemy as well as magecraft.
Ooh.
All right.
Carna is said to be a supporter of the Trenchian Covenantal.
Okay.
This is a new thing that has been happening kind of as of late in the canon. So this is a massive week-long gathering of thin bloods and other like-minded undead folk to network and party at the ruined castle that once belonged to Elizabeth Bathory.
Ooh.
So they just have like a big goth Burning Man rager for a week, but everybody is like fucking and doing drugs and also like talking about magic stuff. And this is like a big place for thin bloods to gather to be able to like share resources and network with each other. The city that this event happens in, the local House Carna Tremere, spend a lot of time and resources planning the event, supporting the event, and then covering up all the masquerade breaches after the event. So it's one of those. I like that there's the opportunity now to have stories where you're doing solidarity from a power position as opposed to you're in a power position, this is all you can do, where it's like, okay, what if you're someone that is in a position of privilege? Like, what can you do to actually, like, support and not be an asshole?
Right.
But you could also talk about the corruptions of power. And it's like, well, maybe these girls that are in the House Carna for this event are, like, collecting all this information and doing something nefarious with it. And again, another wonderful plot hook that I'm like, oh, this could go good or terrible, depending on what your chronicle is. Also, many within the House Carna sect in general will support and sponsor thin bloods in their craft. The more the research seems to upset or shake up the old order of the Tremere, the more likely that a thin blood cook is to receive favor and funding, which I think is very funny. And there's also notes of people in House Carna seeking out and spending time with people that either are mages or are like on the brink of awakening because they have certain abilities that they think are interesting and they want to study it or enslave it. I don't know. That's the problem with vampires. You're always like on the brink of like, oh, you could be really cool, but then you do a terrible thing. And it's like, damn it. I ruined it for everyone.
I do like the idea of Carna being like really trying to shake up things and being like, what if we actually organize the Thin Bloods into a clan of their own?
Yeah, I like that. I do enjoy this.
Yeah, it's like, what if we actually like treated them with respect and like just saw what happened?
Yeah.
Maybe this will work out. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe let's not be a bunch of assholes.
Maybe let's not be a bunch of assholes.
It's also just insanely interesting given how involved Tremere actually is with House Carna.
Yeah.
And his long-term machinations,
Yeah.
like, would there be a reason for him to be interested in getting the Thin Bloods to be, like, their own clan? Like,
Or is this like, okay, we're giving those in House Carna, like, busy work, so they're not paying attention to the big plot?
Right.
Who knows?
and maybe that works against him in the long run, we don't know.
Who knows? Maybe. But then what if one of the Thin Bloods comes up with a solution where it's like, I've put sun in a bottle. Let's go kill God. You know? Who knows? There are also those within House Carna who have taken to using the Vinculum-esque ritual that through basically the power of fuck, you and a partner can share a blood bond between you two as well as Carna's involved. It's a weird ritual. But yeah. The bond does fade much quicker than a typical Vinculum, which is basically at the end of a story, so there's implications that this version of the House Carna blood bond fuck ritual, it goes away in ways that, like, Vinculum doesn't.
Interesting.
So it's like a temporary, like, okay, we can circumnavigate the bonding issue that Tremere have currently because their blood's broken with this ritual, but it's something that we both kind of are consenting to do because it's a fuck ritual. but it wears off.
And Karna's
But
part of
Karna,
it.
but Karna has to be involved because of the way the ritual is. So like, you're also kind of bloodbound to Karna.
Whether you like that or not.
Yeah, whether she likes it or not either. That's also part of the problem.
It's kind of like the meme where it's like, I consent, I don't, and it's just a picture of Jesus.
Yeah, it's like that.
It's just Karna being like, yeah, well, hey, what's up?
Yeah, which this ritual does not help with the claims of that House Karna is just another cult.
I mean, have the Tremere ever not been
Been
a
just a
cult?
cult, yeah. That's where I find that kind of interesting. Because in the way the snippets that you get about Karna in V5, it seems like Karna herself is written as both tired of all the politics, but she's also willing to put in a good fight before she's finally ashed by Tremere herself or himself. She's just like, look, I've done the thing that they fucking hate. They're going to fucking gank my ass. So between now and when I get murdered, I'm going to try and do as much good as I think I can do before I'm murdered.
Nice, I like that. Which is crazy for someone who has won humanity last we checked.
Yeah, so it's like, has she been going through this path of Galconda and that is actually kind of healthy? Instead of making you a shark person, and she's actually a better person now? Mm-mm.
Did she actually recover her humanity on the way to Golconda?
Yeah. Who knows? From what little notes I've been able to find, it seems like she's not interested in actually building actual power because she's not weaponizing this kind of like the cult of personality fuck ritual. She could very easily build up a very powerful cult of personality around herself, but it seems like she's not actively doing that. It just happens to be happening. But because blood bonds feel good, people just keep doing the fuck ritual.
Cool.
And I'm like, oh, but she doesn't help. She's like, oh, no.
No.
Stop doing that. But, House Carda seems to be a place for Tremere to go where they have fled the structure of the pyramid in House Tremere, but they don't really line up with House Goratrix and all the fuck shit they would be doing. So they're just kind of like, okay, I have this little middle ground refugee that isn't just me getting flung into the middle of the Anarchs and having no backup, no power structure, nothing to work with. So if you have a character that's like, I don't like these two other systems, but I need a place to go, you can go here. It's just very interesting just for her being like, I'm trying to build a place that people can go to, and she seems to be more comfortable traveling and doing her own research and continuing to work through the Book of the Grave War and whatever the fuck she's doing. And she's also been open about encouraging other people to do their own research, as well as doing research towards this unified magic theory that would unite an arcane understanding of how thaumaturgy works, all the other blood sorceries work, and how that works in conjunction with the magic systems of all the other splats. And I'm like, that's really cool.
I like that. I like the magic is so complex in World of Darkness. Like, there is hints in the old stuff that it's kind of the same thing, and then there's equal hints that, like, not really.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess. I do like the idea of someone trying to actually figure it all out. Like, wait a minute. If we actually, like, talk to each other instead of slaughter, maybe we have things in common.
Maybe we could solve the problem. But yeah, it seems like whatever chess move she's trying to make, it's more of just kind of like a race against the clock before she gets fucking murdered. Because she's like, I'm gonna get murdered. There's no way they don't. There's no way they don't do that. And I mean, even in the text I shared, Carl Schrecht is like, I would murder these people, but I literally can't because of whatever the weird antediluvian blood call is. Dad said I can't.
Dad said no.
So I'm like,
Daddy said I'm not allowed.
Daddy said I'm not allowed. And I'm like, well, is it better if Daddy says it or the twink? I'll still forever say that Goratrix is the goth twink. Because I mean, when you see illustrations of him, I'm not wrong. So yeah, that's kind of where Karna's sitting at the moment, is just like, so I have this cult of personality that I'm like not cultivating on purpose. Whoops.
I know you said he's mostly a goth twink. I'm looking at pictures and he's mostly a shape in a cloak that you can see the eyes and mouth of. That's the main illustration.
Well, when I say goth twink, I mean more he's like from medieval France.
Fair.
So he's old school goth twink. But yeah, Yeah, it's like, as far as this vampire NPCs go, I'm like, Carna's like, doesn't seem like to be the worst. It just seems like she's just been going through a series of like fucked situations and she's just trying to girl boss her way through it. And it might be working out for the benefit of everybody on the planet right now. So like, hooray. But it's also not like people in her own house aren't going to abuse the systems of power within the cult. So it's like, but she's also doing nothing to regulate that either. So, you know.
It's like she's kind of doing her own thing, which happens to be probably a good thing, but she doesn't really care about her own house, which is interesting. But they also stay in line because they're all addicted to the bonding ritual.
Yeah.
That bonds them to her, too.
Because they keep doing the fuck ritual.
Which she might not care, or that might be her long-term plan anyway, where it's just like, yeah, let them bond themselves to me constantly. That means I can just go do my thing.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not making them do this. They chose to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's on the tin. They know what they were getting into. Like, that's not my fault.
Remember, just leave room for Carna and all your really...
Leave room for Jesus, but leave room for Carna.
Yeah. So if you want to add this NPC into your chronicles, in the core book for V5, there is the Carna lore sheet, which gives you a bunch of different goodie options. In Let the Streets Run Red, there is the Null Zone lore sheet, so you can get things that are related to the aftermath of her fleeing Milwaukee. In the Milwaukee by Night book, there is the Milwaukee Tremere rituals that are listed out that you could convert to V5 fairly easily. In the Blood Ritual Sigils book, there are pre-gen rituals and the rules for ritual creation. And if you want to get more plot hooks and things you could throw at your players for game plot things, Beckett's Jihad Diary on pages 12, 1921, 302, and 304 have tons of different options that either implicate Carna as the evil bad person, or potentially she's not. It kind of depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's Carna, the Tremere lady.
Yay.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought she was going to be like way worse in the plot than she actually is. So like, you know, because yeah, World of Darkness as a game system is better about writing women in more nuanced ways, but it doesn't mean occasionally they write a thing and I go, oh no, I'm back in the box again.
I will say, with how much other good stuff they have her written out, just having her being, like, kind of a creep towards men is kind of funny. Like, that's her thing. Like, yes, it's a bad response, but I do like the idea that she's just, like, a problem in relationships, but otherwise she's mostly got it figured out.
Yeah, like, I'm kind of okay with it too, weirdly enough. Where it's like, girl, I get it. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, fuck these men. Like, which is not a good response. I don't morally agree with it, but just, you know, when you're dealing with the constant systemic, like, disenfranchisement and violence, and then when you do deal with the violence and you try to get help for it, everyone's like, yeah, but what were you wearing? I think you were asking for it. And it's just like, occasionally it's just like, I want to set everything on goddamn fire.
That's insane. A thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
What if part of the ritual that everyone's doing is her working through her problems through other people's relationships?
She's like, there's got to be healthy relationships somewhere. I haven't seen it.
You guys do it for me. Everyone in my clan has...
She's trying to Jane Goodall a healthy relationship. I mean, that is a Tremere response.
And then she shows up and gets the benefit of the bond from them all.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, you know, that's a whole plot. I'm like, girly pop, I get it.
It's better than killing all your lovers, I guess.
Yeah, just like, this one's useless, and then chucking him like an empty, like, edamame shell. I'm just saying, I've had to deal with some fuck ass dudes where I'm like, I just throw the whole man away, fuck it.
Yeah.
So yeah, moral of the story. The plot for Carna is a lot of, you know what, good for her. Also,
Yeah.
happy Women's History Month. I didn't do this on purpose, guys. It's just kind of what happened.
The wheel broke, and this is what we're left with.
Yeah, the wheel's broken. Maybe Karna's breaking the wheel.
That's true.
Maybe this is finally what stops the cycles of jihad for millennia. It's just one bitch is just tired of everyone's shit.
And then you keep just making the wheel, and she's like, I gotta break it again.
Gonna break it again.
I gotta break it. God damn it. I gotta do another fuck ritual.
I was trying to write some notes, and all of a sudden someone's like, you know what, time for fucking, and
And you know, as much shit as I do give Beckett canonically, I will give him the flowers of one. was good with the gender pronouns with Vikos, kept they theming them, which I'm like, okay, cool, hell yeah. 2, eventually Beckett's paranoia around Carna goes away because over the course of Beckett's Jihad diary, she keeps doing little things to help him. Mostly using her magic to help other NPCs deliver him letters. And there's little notes in the margins of her, like, writing the ritual on the letters to be sent to him. And I'm like, I think she actually likes him.
Oh.
They never fuck. He just is like, yeah, we've just had, like, holding hands. And it was very, like, medieval romantic.
Okay, so he didn't consummate the relationship.
Yeah,
we'll
so
say.
I think Carter's attachment to Beckett might be more of a, oh my god, he actually respected me.
I like to think non-canonically that Beckett every once in a while got a pigeon that showed up with a letter.
But yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and act like Beckett isn't a fucking slut. That man in terms of World of Darkness is the goddamn town bicycle. He fucks so many people. But yeah, girl, I'm just like, I got that right kind of damage where I was like, oh wait, this guy was actually nice to me and didn't like try to smash immediately. Oh. So like, girl, I get it. But yeah, we should probably escape. Thank you, Paralyze, for the music.
Yeah, thank you.
Check them out on the Bandcamp. Give them a $1 due. We exist on social media on TikTok and Instagram. Just type in Blank Bodies. You will find us. I'm going to be trying to do more social media things. We took kind of a small hiatus, but soon the Unhinged posts will return. If you appreciate the work that we do, we have a Patreon. You can give us a couple of $1 dues directly from your pocket into ours. It has helped us expand the show. We've been able to buy more research materials. We've upgraded equipment. We're able to maintain the websites. We are investing in merch.
Yes, those are in the work. I have some plans to improve the efficiency of our recording room, which will be nice.
So we appreciate your dollars. It helps. We are working our way towards the next Patreon goal where everybody gets nice enamel pins. Everyone on the Patreon, regardless of your rank and where you are on the planet, you're getting a fucking pin of some sort.
Unless you're a free subscriber. They just get notifications on an email when we post.
Yeah. The paid ones, though. If you give us $1, you get a pin at that next one. And then after that is the cum-isode. I don't know if Danny, did we tell you about the cum-isode?
Yeah.
The cum-isode.
Yeah, we did a blood episode. We did a milk episode, and so we figured we needed to finish the bodily fluid trilogy.
Oh.
So that's the $1,000 a month.
Oh.
There's also some video and content in there. We're gonna explore Indianapolis.
Yeah.
We're gonna explore Chicago, look at VTM locations, and just other occult or spooky locations in our city.
Yeah.
And then Chicago's the next step after that. But helping us step into more content creation in the video sphere. We've done a couple things, but that's something we want to do more of, and so that'll help us get there.
Yeah.
I got really worried at first because it said cum-isode, and then, oh yeah, we're doing a video episode.
Look, the amount of money we're gonna have to get a month for me to do a Blank Bodies OnlyFans is stupid. Stupid. Gonna need a bunch of whale donators, like fucking nope. I respect SW, and I am not in a space where I can do that in a way that's good for my mental health or yours.
Yeah.
So no, but we appreciate the patrons. There should be polls to let you guys help us decide how we run the show, and also you get bonus content. I know we are catching up on things because we got a wee bit behind. We apologize, but
we
soon.
had some major life events hitting us. But back on track. We've got a new Patreon episode going up this week. We did a fun one about the movie Reanimator and how you can tie that into your VTM games.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start the Kindred the Embraced series that our listeners voted for. So that's going to be a little while because that is a full TV series.
We're gonna give it an actual in-depth review.
We're gonna do all of it
Nice.
and talk about the history, and it'll be fun. So that'll be coming up. We'll at least do part 1 this month as well, and then that'll be our Patreon episode for the next couple months. So
Yeah, join us.
yeah, you can watch a interesting TV show alongside us.
So yeah, we also have interview series. So if you're doing a cool project and you want to share it with our community, hit us up at blankbodies@gmail.com.
Yeah, we got that email.
Got that email, boyo.
They have that email.
Yeah. Thank you, Daddy, for joining us on this. And
Hey, it was fun.
good. I am glad. Do you have any comments, questions, concerns as we roll out?
No, just thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
I
it was
really
a good
enjoyed
time.
it.
I like having your face around.
It is a pretty face.
It is a pretty face. So traditionally, John kisses us out of the episode, but he's not here. So do you want to kiss the homies goodnight, or?
Mwah.
There we go.